welcome to WHCA's Conversation with the Candidates. My name is Kevin Tocci, and I will be your host for the next 30 to 40 minutes. This is a program that we're using to sit down with the folks who are running for office, who will be on the ballot come November 6th. And today we have a chance to speak with the candidates who are on the ballot for the 7th Plymouth District. We have the Republican, Alyson Sullivan, and the Democrat, Bezanson. Thank you very much for coming to our studios this evening.
Thank you.
You got it.
Kevin.
And so the idea is for us to have a conversation. You've already engaged in debate. This is more of a chance to kind of sit and talk about some of the issues in kind of a quiet and controlled environment without bells and without time limits. It gives you an opportunity to just kind of to relax and talk about what you know, what you've learned while you have been out on the campaign trail. And so I guess the first thing we should do is do a little bit of introductions for folks who may not know who you are. We'll start with you, Alyson. A little bit about yourself.
So a little about me is, my name's Alyson Sullivan. I'm a lifelong resident of Abington. I went to Abington Public Schools, graduated from Cardinal Spellman High School, and then went on to get my bachelor's degree at Suffolk University. I'm in my fourth and final year of law school at New England School of Law. After graduating from Suffolk University, I had the opportunity to work for the United States Immigration Court as a legal assistant. After that, I went on to the United States Attorney's Office for the District of Massachusetts in the Victim Witness Unit. Now I currently serve the Commonwealth in Administration and Finance. I'm running because I believe in the district, I believe in public service, and I believe in giving back. I believe that I would be an effective listener, a thoughtful thinker, and a doer. I'm passionate about the issues that are facing our district: the opioid crisis, Chapter 70 funding, local aid, Chapter 90 funding. And I know that I will be a very independent representative on Beacon Hill.
Alex, a little bit about yourself, sir.
Bezanson. I moved to Abington in 1987 when my son was 4 years old. I got involved with his sports programs. And shortly thereafter, I was appointed to the Conservation Commission in the early 1990s. I served on the Conservation Commission for 23 years, 15 as chairman. I was then a water commissioner, and then I served 3 years on the Board of Selectmen. As a selectman, I was able to reach an agreement with the City of Brockton to bring 500,000 gallons of sewer to Abington. We had reached our limit. We couldn't issue any building permits. We couldn't bring in any new business, and that 500,000 gallons alleviated those problems. I also, as a selectman, created the nonprofit Abington Substance Awareness Coalition, and our mission is to bring early education and prevention to our students. I'm running for state representative because I do have 27 years of municipal experience. I'm a small business owner, and I will be a full-time state representative with the district office, and I'll be there for the people of the 7th Plymouth District.
What was the main motivation for running for this office, Alex?
I wanted to run because as a selectman, I was able to do some good things, and I was able to create the Substance Abuse Coalition, and I just think I have the ability to bring things back to the district. Like it or not, I'm a member of the majority party on Beacon Hill, so I think it would be easier for me to help the district because of that.
Main motivation for you running?
So my main motivation for running was not in my intent to retire into the state representative position. My main motive is to give back to the community, is to be an effective, independent thinker, to do what's best for this district. I know the district deserves somebody who's going to work on behalf of them and make decisions that is going to be best for the district itself, for Abington, East Bridgewater, and Whitman.
Is it easier because there's no incumbent? Would you say that you would have still ran if there was an incumbent, or does it make it an easier endeavor to pursue this seat?
Well, if it was Jeff Dale, Jeff Dale's done a tremendous job here, so of course I wouldn't have ran against Jeff Dale. Jeff Dale is a lifelong friend of ours. I've known him since I was younger, since he decided to run for state representative. So I definitely wouldn't have ran against him. If it was a different state representative who wasn't benefiting our district or doing the job as best as he could, then yeah, I probably still would have ran.
Appeal because it's an open seat, or would you?
Actually, I announced before it was an open seat. I actually told Jeff Deal that I was going to run for his seat. I don't think Jeff was able to bring the money back to the district because he is the opposition party. And I just think it's easier for someone in the majority party, basically. Jeff is a very nice guy. I know him very well. But he just seemed to struggle with some issues on Beacon Hill. And I just think I'm going to have a better success rate.
Okay.
And just for the record, I'm 62 years old. I will never be in Beacon Hill long enough to receive a pension and retire off Beacon Hill.
Okay. What was it like, I'm sure both of you have had your hand at helping others campaign and being a part of big campaigns like this. What was it like to have your name on a sign like that running for such a big seat like this, Alex?
Well, it's flattering to see your name all around town. And what's really nice is when you drive by a house and you don't know who lives there. And you get the support from a lot of people that you don't know. I was a selectman in town, so, I had signs for that. But
you had to make some changes, though, right?
We did.
Okay, just want to make sure. What was it like for you to see your name on a sign, running for office, and knowing it isn't just one community, but it's multiple communities?
It was a great feeling, seeing my name in print on my mom's car, pulling in from work or school, whatever day it was. But seeing the bumper sticker on her car was it was a great feeling. It was kind of undescribable, the feeling that I had. And now driving around throughout the district and seeing my signs everywhere, getting phone calls from people that are traveling through Abington, Whitman, and East Bridgewater asking me, or saying to me, I'm seeing your signs everywhere. So it's a great feeling. It's amazing to see all of it. So.
Okay. You're out and about. I'm sure you guys, it's been like a marathon for you out there campaigning since you were able to get the nod of your respective parties. You attend events, you speak with voters. Well, what are voters saying to you when you're out there? What are they saying they would expect from you if they decided to, cast a ballot with your name on it?
I think they're expecting someone who's going to be available, someone that's going to be attentive, someone who's going to listen. And that's exactly what my plan is to do. I'm hearing that the issues that are facing each individual town, each individual resident, from door knocking to going to events, to standouts for people pulling over to have conversations. And I hear a lot of positive feedback as well. They're excited about me getting into the race and running. And they're confident and they trust that I will be that independent voice for them.
What are you hearing, Alex?
Well, I think I'm hearing a lot that they want somebody new up there. I think one of the biggest issues is education. I think that's the biggest issue in all three towns, although the opioid crisis is a major issue in this area, and several people are happy that we did form the substance abuse. All three towns actually now
Have
with
something,
Abington.
right? Yep.
Abington didn't have anything before we started it, but Whitman and East Bridgewater, as you know, did. So I think that's one of the biggest issues. Education's a big issue, and the infrastructure in the district. And I think everyone just wants somebody to get our fair share. And the Chapter 70 doesn't seem to be working right now.
And when you say everybody, are you including elected leaders, community leaders, or do you have differing messages from them?
Well, I think more so from the elected officials and the DPW chiefs and the town managers I've spoken to, a town administrator. It's more Chapter 90 that they're looking for. School department obviously is looking for the Chapter 70 money. I think the residents I talk to, it's a mix. Most of them are really interested in the education and the infrastructure and the opioid. So it's a mix of all.
differing message from elected officials and community leaders than voters, or is it the same?
I mean, I think it's roughly the same. You hear about the opioid crisis and, what my plan is to do when I get elected. We talk about Chapter 70 funding. If you look back in 1993, the Act to Improve Public Education, if we upheld that promise originally, Abington would have received $1.2 million on top of their already budget. East Bridgewater would have received, I believe it was $2.2 million. Whitman would have received $1.6 million. So, I mean, we talk about funding for schools, most definitely that's one of the number one priorities.
Right.
Then you look at Chapter 90 funds, and, for many years it's been at a $200 million budget. My intention is to bring it to a $300 million budget so we can get more monies back into our towns, Abington, Whitman, and East Bridgewater. So we can do work like the Route 18 expansion. We can fix the potholes that we're feeling as we're driving, to and from work each day.
Sure.
I had a gentleman walk me to the end of his driveway to show me his street. Because what they come in, they do is they fill the pothole, but they don't actually fix the problem. And I think with all the problems, there are solutions, and my intention is to find those solutions.
One of the things that I know that frustrates some elected officials is unfunded mandates. Mm-hmm. This is usually something that's passed by the state. Give me your thoughts on unfunded mandates, and if there is a measure or initiative that comes by your desk for a vote, where do you stand? What do you say as an elected official if you're fortunate in November 6th?
Well, I think if something is mandated to be by the towns in the district, I think it should be fully funded, most definitely. And I go back to the same issue in the topic that I just stated, as far as Chapter 70. If it was fully funded like it originally promised, we would have received over $1 million in each district, in each town, I'm sorry. So I think if it's mandated, it should definitely be funded by the state.
Okay, same with you. What do you think about unfunded mandates, and if you have a voice in this, what would you do or say?
Well, Whitman is probably the town that's hit the hardest with the unfunded mandates for the transportation, the school transportation. I would not vote for a mandate that was unfunded. If the state's going to do that on state level, the state needs to find the money to do it.
Okay. It was mentioned just a couple of moments ago, the drug epidemic. It looms large, but I know that at the tail end of the last administration into the Baker administration, there have been strides made by the folks who work up on Beacon Hill. What needs to be done further? What are you hearing from folks? What are you seeing? Again, both of you are pretty much on top of this issue. Give me your thoughts, and if there's anything that you feel that needs to be directed and you have a voice, what would you say? Alex?
Well, I think, and I've said this right along, we started the Abington Substance Awareness Coalition because there wasn't a place for people to go in Abington with questions or to get help. Our mission is basically to bring early education and prevention to our students. And with that, it's my feeling that eventually if we spend more on education, we will spend less on treatment. But for the treatment, we need longer treatments and we need more vocational training. Most of these addicts, not all, but a good number of them are young people that have been on drugs since they were 15, 16, 17 years old, and it goes for 10 years, and now they're 25 to 30 years old, and they have no skills. And they go through a treatment program, and they're back out on the streets. We need more vocational training for that. And that's something that I've been working on, and that's something I've been doing with the residents at Teen Challenge. My wife and I have been training them in the construction field and tiling and vinyl siding and carpentry, and they also have a kitchen over there. They train people for cooks. And so a lot of the people coming out of the Teen Challenge program have vocational training and can get a job. So that's why they have a bigger success rate.
Alyson, your thoughts?
So the opioid crisis has, directly affected my life as well as many people in the district. I've lost family members, close friends to opioid overdoses. It's hard. And it's affecting my parents' generation because it's grandparents raising grandchildren. That's a huge issue. I think, with what, Plymouth County Outreach, Plymouth County Drug Task Force, District Attorney Cruz, Sheriff McDonald, E.B. Hope, our local police chiefs. I mean, they were just recognized on a national level for their model. They're making huge strides in the opioid crisis, and I just want to continue doing that work with them. We can and we must continue to do more because so many people are being affected. And we need funding. We need funding for recovery programs to make sure that grandparents that are raising grandchildren have the funds and the ability to raise those grandchildren. At-risk children that are exposed to drug use and substance use. I mean, we have a huge issue here because, and there's more that needs to be done. So,
How about as far as education? Where do you stand in regards to being able to educate our children so that it doesn't affect another generation?
we most definitely should be educating
You have a
children.
number? I mean, how young should we
Grade
go?
school. I mean, we're looking at children that are being exposed to parents with
When you say
substance
grade
use.
school, you're talking 5th grade, 4th grade. Yeah.
I think
Do you think there should be a study done?
it should definitely be, looked at. I think we should talk to the school committees, talk to the administrations here in each town, figure out what's best for each town. I mean, it's not a one size fits all, but I do believe that if we have this early prevention, early education, and early awareness, that we'll see a reduce in substance use. If we educate teachers and coaches and faculty members and administrators to see signs of substance use, we can make strides in that as well. So it shouldn't be a topic that we should shy away from talking about. It shouldn't be something that's a negative, because if children think that they can't speak on it or can't tell one of their teachers what's going on at home, then how are they ever going to feel safe?
You mentioned in regards to skill set to reduce recidivism. So what would you say would be a good age when we talk about trying to educate our children about the dangers of opioids or drug use?
Well, I have a two-part answer to that.
Okay.
3 years ago, we put out a bunch of purple flags for Overdose Awareness Day, which is August 31st. I think that was August 31st of 2016, maybe. And it was right in front of the Frollo School in Abington on Washington Street. And we got great response from that on Facebook and phone calls, and everyone thought it was a great idea, except one woman contacted me and thought it was disgusting, because these purple flags represent a person that died of an overdose that year. So that year, I believe there was 1,567. We didn't have that many flags, but anyway, she didn't think it was right for her third grader to see those flags as she drove by. And my answer to her was, I think it's a perfect setting for her to ask questions. There's ways you can teach a third grader, and there's ways you teach fifth graders, and so on and so on. So I think early education could be as simple as you don't take candy, you don't take any medicine from anyone except mommy or daddy. You have to start that young. But there's a program that I spoke to the Worcester County DA this week about, Joe Early, that he's instituted in Worcester County, and that I'm looking into bringing it to Abington schools now. And it's not about drugs, I believe is the name of it. And it's a program where you train 2 or 3 teachers, and it's actually part of the curriculum in the health classes. And we would initially do it from 7th, 8th, 9th through the senior year. And then after that, it would be part of the 9th grade curriculum.
But how young would you go? Is there did you say it in your answer, like maybe you would do 3rd grade differently than 5th grade?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
I think so, yeah.
I just want to make sure I kind of get an idea or a general
I think
scope of it.
as long as the kids are old enough to understand what an aspirin is, or Tylenol is, or something like that, I think that's the age to start them.
Let's talk a little bit about you. We've mentioned education, so to speak, but I want to kind of take it in a different direction in regards to the economy, whether it's regular education, whether it's trade schools, whether it's higher education. when it comes to educating our workforce now and into the foreseeable future. Give me your thoughts on having programs to be able to help those be able to keep our economy going. Alex?
Are you talking free tuition or something like that?
Whatever we need to do in
Well-
order, whether it's to develop those who need a skill set that will be employable and will be able to assist some of the different industries that we have here in the Commonwealth.
Well, I definitely would be in favor of reduced tuition or free tuition for state schools and vocational schools. I'm not sure the state can afford it at this point, but somewhere down the line, I would like to see that. I would like to work towards that. I think everyone, if they maintain a certain grade average, they should be able to go to a state school or a community college or a vocational school after high school. And I think they should be able to seek some state funding for that. Other states have done this.
Yep.
I think it's a huge expense to do it, and we're not ready for it at this point, but I think it's something we should strive for.
Same question in regards to education, higher education, whether it's a vocational school, whether it's community college. Give me your thoughts on in order to help our workforce for success now and into the future.
So I don't believe college is for everybody. I think some people want to go to a trade school, and we need people that know the trade, whether it be from construction to mechanics to electricians. I mean, if nobody wants to go to those schools and master those trades, then I think a lot of people will be trying to figure it out on their own.
Right.
So I think if that's the route that certain kids and high school students want to go, that should be an option.
My next question would be in regards to the three communities, and we've kind of mentioned it. Give me your thoughts. While every community has probably something in common as far as its needs, there are others where there are greater needs than maybe another, whether it's a school building project, maybe it's a capital project, maybe it's something that's financial. Give me your thoughts in regards to these communities and what you've come to understand since being a candidate, and what you'd like to try to do to help these communities in your district.
So I don't know if I'm understanding you correctly.
I'll give you an example. Whitman has been they actually have sat down and already started looking at the 2020 budget because they're having financial issues. Okay. I know that East Bridgewater is looking at certain projects, as is Abington.
Right.
What's some of your understanding as some of the needs that they have that may need some kind of state or some kind of financial assistance that maybe you're able to, when there is a supplemental budget, be able to assist your district?
So what I've been hearing is, for Abington, with the expansion of Route 18, there's an issue with one of the firehouses in Abington, and it's one of the main firehouses that we use. So that's going to be an issue once the project is now progressing into Abington. I believe it's the Abington-Weymouth line right now, but it's going to eventually get to Abington, and it's going to be a hard time for our fire department. So we're going to have to look at where to relocate or how we're going to be able to have a firehouse there that it can be easily accessible to where it needs to go. Like you said, Whitman is looking into a further budget and a future budget because of certain things that are facing Whitman. I know East Bridgewater, there was talk about redevelopment in certain areas of the town. There was also talk about certain street locations and intersections that are known to be dangerous and a high rate of accidents. So there's a few things that are hitting our each towns directly. As a state representative, if it's something that a legislator has a direct impact on, of course I'll be doing and listening to the people in the town. I mean, I have support from all three town selectmen, so I'll know that I'll be able to speak with them and hear what's best and hear what they need to get done. And I'll turn to the people in the town and hear what they need to say and listen. So I won't make a rash decision until I know all the facts.
Same question, Alex, as far as your understanding of every community and maybe some of the assistance they could use from their state representative or legislative delegation, depending on who you're working with.
Well, I think the biggest thing I'm hearing in East Bridgewater is two intersections that desperately need to be looked at. And I've requested from Old Colony Planning Council, last week actually, to see if they've done studies on these. And one of them's Route 18 and Central Street in East Bridgewater. And that's where we are actually standing out tonight, and that is a dangerous, dangerous intersection. The other issue in Whitman, I'm hearing they desperately need a DPW building. I'd like to work on that with them. Abington does need a central fire station. The fire chief has been talking about that for several years. During the Route 18 construction, they will be parking the trucks at the North School during that, hopefully a week or a few days when it's interrupted at the main station. We do have the other fire station on Rockland Street. The fire chief has made it known that he would like to acquire the North School and convert it into a central fire station. So I would be looking to help the towns with that also.
Talk to me about constituent services. That will be your bread and butter if you are elected. Being able to help those folks in your district, holding district hours. What's your plan?
Well, my plan is to be a full-time state representative, and I will have a district office in Abington, and I already have volunteers that will man that office. So people can reach us through there, or they'll be able to reach us at the State House with our aid. I think that's probably one of the most important jobs of a state representative is the constituent services. And you'll get a phone call because they need help filling out a Medicaid application, or somebody can't work and they need mass health. Mm-hmm. Those are some of the things that that we'll be working on, and we'll have the office in Abington to do that.
Talk to me about constituent services. What's your plan?
Well, that's one of my number one priorities, is making sure I'm available, and I'll always be available to the people here in the district. My plan is to hold, office hours, whether it be in district or up at Beacon Hill, whatever works best for the people is what I'll do. I'll have newsletters go out with information, how to reach me, where to reach me, whether it is through phone calls, emails, or in person. If I have the pleasure of getting elected, coming on your show and having quarterly talks with you and letting you know what's going on in Beacon Hill and what's going on in the district from my understanding.
Okay.
I think that's part of the job description.
I think that is part of that.
Tocci's show.
I think it is. Well, it's not my show. It's technically your show, and the folks in the district, and we've been privileged over the years that the representatives that serve both communities, and of course Senator Brady, come in and do a regular show, and it's fantastic. It at least shows that you want to share. It. So I thank both of you for at least mentioning that. Going a little bit further beyond constituent services, have you thought about the transition you're going to have to make come November 7th, trying to figure things out, going up to the State House, living in tight quarters with a handful of other newly elected state reps? Have you thought about that?
Well, I travel already into Boston, to the State House, so I'm actually used to traveling into the city, whether it be on the commuter rail or driving up the expressway. So I know what the commute's like. But I think majority of my time will be here in the district. I'll be at the State House, but I'll also be here for the people so that they can have access to me and can speak to me when key issues arise.
So you're waiting for your office. I mean, what do you do to get acclimated up there? Do you already have several other representatives, no matter what side of the aisle, that you're already kind of friendly with, that you'll be able to work with instantly?
Well, I have a great working relationship with the administration already. I work for Governor Baker, and I have a great working relationship with Lieutenant Governor Polito. And I also know some of the state reps that are in office right now. Okay. So I would obviously turn to them and hear what they have to say.
Talk to me about getting acclimated, making the transformation from being the guy campaigning to working in cramped quarters. How do you make that transformation? How do you make it through until they assign you an office?
Well, I'm excited to get in there. And the speaker just had a bunch of the candidates in for lunch a week or so ago and was explaining how the process would work, and that's exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be a bullpen down in the basement.
Sure.
And that will go on till March or April.
Right.
And then we'll get an office probably a quarter of the size of this room and probably no window. But, you know, it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I think I have a lot of great relationships on Beacon Hill. With Josh Cutler is one of my biggest supporters, and, you know, we would be sharing the Whitman-Hanson school system. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think I have a lot of friends up there that I've known for years, Senator Brady and, you know, Josh Cutler, and several of my friends have left for other jobs in the last year or so, but we have a lot of contacts up there, and they've assured me they're going to help us along and help us get what we can for our district.
What are some of the other issues? So I think we've talked about some of the main ones, but is there a particular issue that is a pet issue of yours that you can't talk about enough? If you hold it, having a debate, you don't have a chance to talk about it? Alyson?
I mean, the key issues that I'm very passionate on is the opioid crisis, Chapter 70 and Chapter 90. I can't say it enough. I mean, and lowering taxes and finding ways. I mean, we have a $42 billion budget. You know, we don't have the revenue problem, we have the spending problem. So just getting up to Beacon Hill and being that strong advocate on behalf of Abington, East Bridgewater, and Whitman to ensure that we get the most local aid we can get.
Same question with you. I mean, anything we haven't necessarily
Well,
touched upon, but you want to talk
necessarily
about?
we haven't talked about, but my main concern would be I'd like to get on the education committee. That would be my first choice, and help with the school funding. That's going to be revisited next year as part of in the next session, and I'd like to be part of that.
Are you talking about like the funding formula to kind of
Yes,
sit down and talk
yes.
about it? Haven't they done this? But haven't they done this over and over and over again? I thought they had done this a couple of years ago, and it takes a while for it to process. Haven't they done that?
They have, but I'm told that it's going to be completely reviewed in the next session. So I would like to be on the education committee for that. The opioid is another pet project of mine, as you know. Because of the Substance Abuse Coalition we started, I'd like to be on the Mental Health and Substance Use Committee.
Okay.
So those would be the issues that I'd be working on. You know, obviously, all the issues we're working on. It's a full-time job, so you're working on a lot of issues, but those would be two of the main things that I think this district is looking for.
You mentioned committees. Any committees that you'd favor, or you would hope that you would have a crack at?
I would definitely want to be on Ways and Means, the Judiciary Committee.
Everybody would want to be on Ways and Means.
Exactly.
You know?
The Judiciary Committee, I mean, a strong passion of mine is criminal justice and making sure criminal justice reform to make sure public safety and first responders are protected, and that prosecutors and police officers have the tools and resources they need to make sure that our streets are safe and our communities are safe. Also, mental health, substance use, and recovery is another committee I would love to serve on. Public safety and homeland security.
Okay. I know one area when I'm watching selectmen, finance committees sit down and talk, one of the areas of the budget that they can't wrap their hands around is health care. Does something need to be done in the state in regards to health care to contain its costs? I know it's the Affordable Care Act is something that's on the federal level, but let's not forget that, you know, when it came to a healthcare system, it kind of was born here. What can be done here to help contain healthcare costs, pharmaceutical costs?
Well,
Is there something that the legislature can do to help with this?
I mean, we would need to review it and to look into it. You know, we need to have competition as far as healthcare providers, making sure it's affordable so that people can have healthcare and can afford healthcare. I mean, our mass health system is a huge part of our budget.
Sure.
And because of that, a lot of money is taken away from other entities. So it most definitely has to be reviewed and to make sure that it's not being abused and there's no fraud. So, yeah.
Same question. Healthcare.
Well, I think one of the biggest problems with the healthcare is the pharmaceuticals. That needs to be controlled. It needs to be looked at. The prices are just ridiculous here when you can go to Canada and get them for half the price. I think we have a good healthcare system. We started here with so-called Romney Care, and that was the basis for Obamacare. And I think, like anything, it needs to be tweaked, it needs to be worked on, but I don't think we need to throw it away and start over again. I think it's a process where you continually have to review it year after year and make changes to it.
Okay. Well, I think we've come to the end of our time here. I want to thank both of you for coming. If there was something that you could say to the folks who are viewing this right now, what would you like to say, Alex?
This election is a very important election. On November 6th, I urge you to vote for me, Alex Bezanson. I have 27 years' experience. I will be a full-time state representative. I will have a district office, and I will be there every day for the people of the 7th Plymouth District.
And your website?
alexbezanson.org.
Okay. Anything you'd like to say to the fine folks who are watching this right now?
Well, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. We do appreciate it. I ask for your vote, your trust on November 6th. I know that I will be a listener, a thoughtful thinker, and a doer. My plan is to be an independent voice on Beacon Hill, and thank you.
And I want to thank you for tuning in. Again, the idea of programs like this that we've had on Whitman Hills Community Access is to better inform you, the voter, before you go in and pull that curtain in the voting booth. You have an opportunity to get informed as to where your candidates, not just these two, but any candidate, where they stand on particular issues that are near and dear to you. Again, you've been watching conversations with the candidates, and we've had Alyson and Alex who are here, and they're running for the 7th Plymouth District. Check out their websites. Did you have a chance to give your website? Your
No.
website is what again?
Alyson Sullivan, 2018.
All right.
Oh, sorry, Alyson Sullivan for State Rep, 2018.
Yeah, it's kind of long. That's
It is.
flashing up on the screen at this particular moment. And again, it's up to you to get out there on November 6th and cast a vote. Be educated. Until next time, have a good day.